What's going on? And welcome back to Stereotherapy Podcast. As always, I am your host, Lisa, and I wanted to hop on before this episode. This is a special bonus extra episode that I had from the previous podcast that I did. If you are a previous listener, thanks so much for sticking around and coming back. We had to take a little break. If you are a new listener, hi, welcome to the Stereotherapy Podcast. We are a podcast that shows the importance of music and mental health and how music is therapeutic to us all. You can check us out at www.stereotherapypod.com and anywhere where you get your podcasts as well. We're on Google, Apple, Spotify, and you can just check it out on the website too if the apps aren't your thing. There's something for everyone there. In this episode, it features my former co-host, Jess, who is no longer on the podcast. And this was a previous recorded episode where we were still really trying to figure out audio, what was working, what wasn't working. So there's a couple echoes, especially on one end. So apologize about that. I can fully guarantee moving forward, it will not be like that. Worked really, really hard in this break time, got things right, worked on a bunch of stuff, learned a bunch of stuff, and I'm excited for everyone to hear that. And hopefully, the episodes speak for themselves. So, really excited. But I wanted to share this episode. We brought on Omar Feliciano of the Phoenix Within. He was someone that I crossed paths with, and he really encompasses the idea of stereotherapy and how we are connected through music, whether it's Facebook, at a local show, you just word of mouth, hey, someone else likes this band. He really encompasses that idea. And I love what he said in this interview. And rather than just say, hey, come back on the show, I wanted to put it out there because there were a lot of important things on here about the tools Omar uses, his band, and some really funny, awesome, amazing stories about in connections to Third Eye Blind and Linkin Park. So I hope you truly enjoy this episode. I really enjoyed having Omar on. So I didn't want to take any more of your time, but I wanted to hop on and just let you know, hey, I know the audio is like, but it will get better. And I hope you truly listen to it and appreciate this and love this as much as I did having Omar on. Truly appreciated his time. And please, without any further ado, let's get right to it. Here's our conversation with Omar Feliciano of the Phoenix Within. To have you with us because you're a huge reason why we're even doing this, because I think last summer when you responded to like those little artist of the week that I would do, and I remember I was like, I just want to get back into it. I love music. I want to do it. And when I got your email about, hey, we want to be part of the unsigned band of the week, and I was like, I haven't done it in like 5-6 years. I'm like freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, look, but I want to do it. I really want to do this. I want to do, and I gave it a shot. And I was like, oh, well, that was pretty cool. Let's see. Maybe there's a need for this. Maybe there is something, so like, it's so awesome to have you on for that. And I mean, besides liking your band, but that was just so cool. I was like, that would be awesome to have that going on.
Well, thank you both for having me. And thank you for taking a chance on us that time. I remember reaching out and saying, hey, we have this new single. Gee, who do I contact to even give it a chance? And you were one of the people, not only did you responded so quickly too. Like it was just, it was nice and it was different and it helps. Everything helps.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm actually a new fan thanks to Lisa. She got me into you guys, and I'm actually excited that you guys just came out with a new single, right? January 5th, Raw Energy. So that's awesome that you're coming out with new music right now, and I love the power behind that track. So can you tell us a little bit about that new song and what it's about, where it came from?
Oh yeah. So definitely raw energy in the writing process. I tapped into roots, the little punk roots, for sure. Bands like Rise Against, Anti-Flag. But I also wanted to be, melodic. Not that Rise Against is definitely melodic, but even more so, bands like Hidden in Plain View definitely had an influence on this one. I actually, the song was recorded at Rob Freeman's studio who's
Cool.
the front man and guitarist of Hidden in Plain View out in Jersey.
Yeah.
So definitely those influences were there. And the song that was the gist of it was that it's that punk attitude of just not giving a fuck when people are trying to tell you what to do. And I'm like, put the finger up, walk away. I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna do me.
Yeah, if you haven't listened to the song yet, people, that's exactly what this song is about.
And I think that's why I really liked that one right away. I'm a huge Rise Against fan. So I was like, I hear it. All right, those are my boys from back home. And
yeah,
I'm like, all right, let's go. And I love that message because I think even with us doing this podcast, it's like, you know, whether there's two girls doing it and even getting anyone to come on or like commit to it. And they're like, or do you really know what you're talking about? Do you really, you know, I don't know. You're a new podcast. Okay, you only have this many followers, this and that. And I'm like, you know, we're still going to do it. Maybe you're not going to come on, but we're still going to do it. And we love music and we know that we will do a good job. And if you don't, it is what it is. But I love that song.
That's the thing though. Like music, just like how you two met on the line at a show, going to a place. It's a community. It's at least from me. Like when I grew up, you know, growing up in the scene, that's what it was. It was community. It was people who were weird, who were odd. Who are just doing things that
Wait, we're weird?
I'm weird with you.
Yeah, no.
We're all weird.
It's just like it was a support system in itself, you know. It's like, hey, we listen to the same kind of loud, angry music or loud poppy music. Like, you know, yeah, I'm down with that, you know. So it's like I think people forget sometimes. It's a community. We're here for each other.
And that's kind of what we wanted to build. Where I keep trying to tell people, I'm like, I want to create like a little community of music lovers too. And like, you know, you can message me, you can whatever. If you find this like new song, like, believe me, like I want to hear about it. I want that community. I miss that. So like it's just different time now. Like back in the day, it was you go to shows in basements. Now I'm like, I hope it still goes on. I don't know.
It still does.
Oh, that's so good. Because of like, I'm like, I'll have to go to those.
I think I watch too much Dateline now to go to someone's basement for a show. So.
Hey.
Green room.
Right. You never know. But like, so for someone that hasn't heard the Phoenix Within, what 3 words do you think describe your band to someone that's never heard them?
I'm gonna throw in raw because we just wrote a song like that. I like to think truth. Like I tend to be truthful in what I say. Definitely emotional. I would add emotional there too. Yeah, raw. Yeah, a raw truth that's very emotional.
Yeah, and I mean that kind of gets into like our next question is obviously your solo album, The House of Aragon, came out last year, and in that, I mean that even describes your solo work. I mean, in that record, you tackle a lot of topics and some social issues. Is that something that's really important to you as an artist and something you kind of want is like your legacy as a songwriter?
Legacy as a songwriter. Wow. I'll tell you what, I don't shy away from writing, whatever it is. It's how I process things. So I always write things down, whether they're good, whether they're bad, whether it's just a thought, whether it's an idea. I'm just used to writing it down. So I don't know. I don't know. Like there's so many factors to like writing a song, you know, like what influenced it, what sparked it. The Phoenix Within has a song called Meme, and that song was about the person I'm dating was telling me a story about a chef. He's a very, you know, good job, works in a successful restaurant. The guy's covered from tattoos from here to there, and makes 6 figures in his restaurant, whatnot. And when he went to go apply for an apartment, all they kept looking at was his tattoos. And saying, well, what do you do? Why do you have this kind of income? I'm a cook. Well, what kind of cook has this much income? And then, again, just looking at the art on the arm and making their assumptions of what he does based off that. Based off that, I wrote the song called Meme, where it's just like, hey, what if the words people use were actually handled as currency? Wouldn't you really pay attention to what you do and what you say? Like, people don't realize the power behind those words. So I guess it's like, yes, these social things are always going to be a thing for me. I've been interested in history. I've been interested in human condition forever. And it just makes sense I put it together with music. But will it always be these topics, I don't know.
Mhm.
I like to branch around,
If
but
only they
it's
knew how
yeah,
expensive tattoos really were.
right. You
Yeah.
don't know, man.
No, but
Yeah,
I
and I'm
oh, go ahead.
surprised actually that you guys were still making music through the pandemic. Like, that's
Mhm.
pretty awesome. You came out with an album, and a lot of musicians kind of took that time to take a break, and you guys are even still playing shows right now, which is amazing. Obviously, the show's going to be over by the time this comes out, but you have one coming up. So, how does it feel to like get back and connect with your fans?
That just feels amazing. There's just such a high that comes from, being able to perform live and being able to play those songs that we wrote in the garage. you know,
Mhm.
um, Playing those songs that we, wrote in the studio, it, it just completes the story for us. So live shows are super important for the community, for the industry, for the business. Um, it feels great. It just, and I'm sure everybody else agrees with me too. It feels good
Yeah.
to be back out there.
And I mean, even me, like my first show back was this November. I saw Ellis Dunes and Kaylee Goldsworthy. And I went and I was like, oh, I'm at Asbury Lanes and I'm there. I'm like, this just feels good. It was my first time. I finally got back in. I was like, yeah, I needed this. Like, I think we all
Yeah,
needed that. And like that feeling of just walking in and like, you see your favorite band come out. And it was just like, was like, all right, like what's my next one? And then of course, now tickets are very different and very
yes.
hard to get now. Um, but
We won't get into that rant.
yeah, exactly. Right. But it is. So that's so awesome. Like I know for us, it was awesome to go to them, but for you to actually get to play them, I mean, that that's so awesome. That's so awesome to
Well,
see that come back.
yeah, it's
Mhm.
therapeutic. It's like just
Mhm.
you can see it in the crowd and the people that are happy to be there and happy to be out there again. Even if it's a local show, and that's not to hate on myself or any local artist. It's just,
Mhm.
you know, it's something that I felt before the pandemic was that uh, you start questioning it, like, oh, the scene's not the way it used to be, or
Mhm.
it's just harder now. You have to be doing so much more. But then this thing happens, and coming out of it, people are just like, I'm ready to go to where's the basement show? I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Let's go. Let's do it. Like,
Yeah.
so that energy is still floating out there,
Mhm.
and you can feel that.
Oh, that's so awesome. And I mean, being an unsigned artist, for you, what has been the biggest struggle? I mean, whether it was during the pandemic, post-pandemic, current time, what do you think has been the hardest thing?
For us in particular, I would say, it was coming up with ways to stay relevant
Mhm.
and how to survive that period of stagnation, right? Like it was like there's so many emotions going on. There's so many people were dying. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yep.
not like it wasn't some fake shit going on. There's a
Mhm.
real situation going on, and
Yeah.
you have a lot of things to balance. Like you're an artist. You know we're like we have, yes, we're artists. We also have jobs. And it's like you're trying to just find that balance. And it's like I kept writing. One of the things that we stuck to as a band was we kept writing.
Mhm.
Second thing that we had to come up with was like, what do we do while we're not allowed to play shows? So
Right.
one of the things that we did there was we went back to our music catalog. We've released as a Phoenix Within and Omar, like 51 songs are out there, professionally
Wow.
Mhm.
recorded, professionally released. They're out there. So we went back into our catalog. We brought all the songs back, relearned the songs, re-tabbed them out, and published songbooks based off of our music. So that was one of the things that we survived. Um, we printed merch that we never did before. Like usually it was just shirts, maybe hoodies. This time we went around and did hats, coloring books
Yeah.
based off
Mhm.
our music, cups, mugs, like all different kinds of things, and that
It's like
helped.
a whole new brand, you
Yeah,
know?
it just like it forced you to get out of your routine. It's like, okay, what else?
Mhm.
What else can you do? And again, the writing, we still kept going to the studio. There was like major distance going on in the studio, but we did it. We wrote, we released, and we just didn't stop. There was no shows, but we did do some like video, performances, and we released those. We made like 4 of those and put them out. That along with the merch sale and all that stuff. So definitely the finances that would have came from live shows had to be substituted with these things. So they could pay for recording time, so they could pay for music video time and all that other stuff. So for us, finances during that time was critical. It was critical
That's
because
interesting.
it was
I never really thought
critical.
about like where you kind of have to adjust as an artist in that way. So that's really interesting to see that you guys like came together and kind of sounds like you came up with a plan of different things that you wanted to try.
Yeah. And that's literally what it was. I was like, hey, we never did this. Let's try it.
I'm like,
I always wanted to write a book. Let's do it.
I keep saying, like, I got to get that coloring book. I'm a colorer. I'm an artist. When I'm stressed or any like anxiety, I color. I have color books like all over my house. So I'm like, I
So
need to get
peaceful.
that coloring book.
Yeah, it's so peaceful.
It is. It is. Like, I don't care what anyone says. Like, whether it's music calming, I'm like, art, 100%.
And that was something that we did off of just all I did was I took all the artworks that we released off the digital releases. Because come to think about it, it's you release a song now. It's not like back in the day when you had a CD and it came with a
Mhm.
poster. It's not
Mhm.
physical anymore.
No,
You know,
no.
so it felt nice being able to bring that out of the digital world and manifest it into literal paper. Like that was
Mhm.
pretty cool experience. It was really weird, and I was like, oh crap, I got art here. Like,
No, we'll make
Yeah,
sure to
and
link that. We'll make sure to link that because people need this book. Like, it looks really cool if you've never seen it.
yeah, send it all our way. We'll post it on the Instagrams and the
Mhm.
TikToks. But I mean, the whole premise of this podcast itself is that we're learning about what is therapeutic to people. Like Lisa said, she likes to color, and
Mhm.
I know you guys have a song called "Awareness," and that is like the most perfect song to match what we're trying to talk about here. And the first time I heard it, it got me in my feels and I listened to it like 5 times in a row. I was like, "This is, like, so perfect." But, can you tell us about maybe any bands or artists that inspire you guys or you yourself that kinda, bring you to that level?
that song, a little back context was like I had a friend who came out to me
Mhm.
because he didn't feel comfortable coming out to his family. So I was like
That's a shame.
the first, him exposing. I was like, dude, I already know.
Mhm.
If they don't know, I don't know where their heads are.
Mhm.
But it helped him build the courage to do what he had to do. And the song just poured out. But definitely influences for that would have been Death Cab for Cutie, the Postal Service, um, definitely Dashboard. Um, I wanted it to be like really naked. So like the first half of the
Mhm.
song is just basically the vocals, the guitar. There's some like sounds going about, and then just when the full band kicks in, it's just like, hey man, this is it. We're going ride
Mhm.
or die. um,
It does
but
feel very vulnerable when you listen to it, and I do love, just the message of it too, but it really just hits home that people can relate in so many different ways and not even knowing what that song was about to you, I felt it in a different way. So I just
that's
love
awesome.
that people can, relate to music in so many different ways like that.
And that's the power behind it. Like hearing this person's story to me, just I was like, first of all, thank you for sharing that with me.
Mhm.
Thanks for making me feel important like that.
Yeah.
Well, I
um,
heard it and I was like, holy shit, this is it. This is exactly what we're trying to get across. So we're putting this on a playlist. Whatever we make, this song's got to go on it because it is exactly what we're trying to say.
that's awesome. I'm glad if it can help anybody. That was the point of the song. It was
Mhm.
like create that awareness. It's not, kind of like you have to fight that stigma. It's like everything is multi factors. There's so many levels to so many things. Whether it's depression, whether it's sadness,
Mhm.
and even getting over that.
Mhm.
There's so many levels. There's so many things, and everybody's in different stages and different points. We have to have compassion for each other. You know, that song was trying to do that.
That's awesome. I know we did a lot of we had sent you a little something to kind of get your background of your influences. And I know one of them on there was Third Eye Blind. And
Oh
I
yeah.
have to. I'm like, finally, maybe somebody, because I have a love for Stephen Jenkins and Third Eye Blind. They're like up there. What do you love about that band? What has influenced you by listening to them?
Dude, that band, I still remember like, so I grew up like in a very religious, spiritual home, and my mom, well, she started off spiritual, then she went into the religious side, and of course, to both ends, she was too extreme. So when she was in the spiritual side before junior high, and then when I got to high school, she reached to the religious side, and so she was like, "You can't listen to music, like secular music and all this shit." So I would get all my CDs and like MP3s from like school, and I remember like asking my friends, I saw somebody with a Third Eye Blind shirt. And I was like, oh, I want to hear this band. I never heard of them, And so, because this one kid, he never wore anything that was like merch stuff, So like he was wearing a merch stuff. I was like, oh, if he's listening to this, I want to hear what this is. So he burns does he burn? No, he bought the actual CD. So I had to hide this in my backpack, at all times, so I couldn't bring it home. And dude, from Narcolepsy all the way down, that whole album was just fucking fire. I would dive so deep into that album in the nighttime, just fucking listen to it in the dark, and just the weird stuff that he was doing with his vocals, the randomness in his lyrics, the flow. I listen to a lot of hip hop and R&B, and he had his own flow. A different kind of flow, alternative rock flow, which I for me, it was brand new. I'd never listened to something like that. I just loved everything that they were doing with the guitars, and back then I didn't even know how to play guitar. So I dove deep, man. Like he definitely one of my top 5 artists is Stephen Jenkins from Third Eye Blind. Like they're just dope. Dope.
No, they are. Still to this day. I'm like, when we just started 90s episode, I'm like, it's Third Eye Blind. That self-titled is top tier. And I dare anyone to argue that, because that album is everything.
Lisa's going to start a Third Eye Blind fan club. You guys we're all going to
They'll be so happy. I'm sure they'll be happy. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm like, I got it. But it's funny when you mentioned you would hide your music. I mean, I would have to hide my music too. If there was like a parental advisory, I'd hide it under my pillow. And I remember one time my mom's like, what is this? And there's like a Korn CD or something. She's like, what is this? And I'm like, but I forget how young. I mean, I was young, and I get it, I'm like, this is your little girl and she's listening to this music and they're scary, but like something, I'm like, I've always liked that kind of music and alternative music. And if it had a parental advisory, I was like, that's okay. Like, I hear these words, it doesn't matter, but
right?
That brought it back.
What are you sheltering from? I don't get it.
Yeah. No, I don't either.
It's art.
Exactly. I'm like, who cares? But no, they were not down with the parental advisories. But after a while, they were like, one year for Christmas, I got a CD, and I think it was a Korn CD or whatever it was, but it was I had a parental advisory, and I was like, oh, okay. They got it now. They get it now. They're like, okay, that's all right.
They're over it. Yes, they're over it.
He's fine.
See, I tricked my dad into buying me Linkin Park Hybrid Theory. He had no idea what a parental advisory was. I was like,
you're lucky. You're lucky.
That's fine. I still remember the day that album came out. I cut school to go buy that album, and I got picked up at Truancy, and it was like a fucking snow day. And the day cleared up after they brought me back into the campus, And then they're like, yeah, you got to call your mom now. My mom didn't speak a word of English. I was like, hola, mamá. Yeah, I know. Hoy salgo temprano. Like, she had no idea what was going on. And the cop knew I was bullshitting them. And he was just like, man, get in the car. We're going to take you back to campus. I was like, can we play the CD in the car? And they did. They played the Linkin Park Hybrid Theory. The first time I ever heard it was in that police truancy van as they were taking me back to high school. It was fucking great.
So awesome.
That's incredible.
So cool. Shout out to NYPD.
There we go.
My story is not as cool as that, so.
That's so awesome. But it's cool when you can bring it back to music like that, and there's different memories. I'm like, if I hear a song, I'm like, that's it. I was there. I was here. When I first moved to New Jersey, and it was like, okay, like I don't know anybody. I don't know the scene. I don't know everything. I have to try and get into that. And it's been different because it's very different out here. Like everybody has their own little thing, not to down, New Jersey, but like very different than the suburbs of Illinois that I was used to. So it's like, okay, we'll see how this goes. I'm like, a little fish in the big pond of everybody. But it's cool though. It's cool being out on the East Coast and everything. And do you think that has influenced you a little bit?
Yeah, I'm definitely a New York rat.
Mhm.
But true story, I was born in Jersey though. I was born
Oh, oh, what part of Jersey?
I was born in the hood, bro. Passaic.
Oh, yeah, that's gotta be north than me. That's gotta
Yeah.
be north. Yeah, I'm in central like Monmouth County, so like I'm not.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah. So I was
man.
I was born in Jersey, but raised in South Ozone Park, New York, But yeah, no, I definitely take a pride in the city, like I definitely feel that, it's one of
Mhm.
those things where even when I go someplace new, I'm like, oh, this is nice. It ain't New York, but it's nice. Like spoiled.
I think we can kind of sense that in some of your music too, is like the city vibe because there's a little bit of grittiness to it.
Mhm.
And like I said, I was born in Chicago on the South Side. Like I lived there the first part of my life, and I actually have like the skyline tattooed on my arm because I always want the city with me. So I like
Oh
that
yeah.
you kind of incorporate that because it feels familiar to me.
Yeah.
When I listened to the songs, I was like, yeah, I feel like I know these guys. Like I would hang out with them in Chicago.
Fuck yeah.
So I like that vibe.
Yeah, we have a song called South Ozone Park, which is based out of like
Mhm.
it's my biography. It's like this the song is about the town I grew up um in South Queens, mentions just my elementary school, it mentions my junior high school, my high school, the friends I made there and all that stuff. And personal, you know, storylines there. But yeah, there's a pride like, in where you come from, right? And like I think of my place, and while some people might be like, "Oh, South Central Park, that's the hood," or they just relate it to JFK Airport area, and they're like, "It's just general. That's JFK somewhere over there." Um, to me, it's like that's where I learned how to play guitar. That's where my friend showed me all these bands that changed my life.
Mhm.
Introduced me to all these other acts. That's where I played my first show. But yeah, no, home is good.
Awesome.
That is. That's how I feel. Like even hearing like I'm from Chicago. Well, be real, I'm 30 minutes from Chicago, but like I'll say I'm from Chicago. I'm one of those people. But like even saying that, like when I'm here, people are like, "Oh, you're gonna get shot? Are you okay?" Like, oh, I'm like, listen, like there are parts of Chicago that aren't great, but there's reasons for that. A lot of it is the social issues, the housing, the lack of schools, and there's a lot of issues with Chicago. I'm like, but it's a beautiful city. You will be fine walking down the street. You're not going to get
Yeah,
hurt. I'm like, I love it. I'm proud of that. I'm like, I'm Midwest Chicago all the way. Like, no matter what, I may be in Jersey, but I'm in Chicago.
yeah, and those things can happen anywhere. That
Mhm.
those things can happen anywhere
Mhm.
because those social conditions and chains are wrapped around us and in our life, in our laws and our systems. That shit can happen anywhere, anytime.
No, absolutely. Like
True.
it can. And it's so important that we realize that too. And I mean, that's why like I love what you tackle in your music and that you're not afraid to, because some artists I feel these days might be a little because, oh, I don't want to lose fans or I don't want to take this stance or talk about this. But um, and one of the things I love about it is you're not doing it in a judgy way either. You're basically saying, like these things are still going on today, which is crazy to think about. And that's so important to have.
Yeah, I think like I don't really understand when artists do that. Just because maybe it's like starting up with the punk music and whatnot.
Mhm.
Like I've just always associated rock and roll with say whatever the fuck you want,
Mhm.
and I just can't understand. Like I've worked with artists like that where it's just like, no, we don't want to talk
Mhm.
about that, or even if it's like, I get it. So I understand in a writing sense if it's too on the nose. Yeah, that I understand.
Mhm.
That you can get, a little more philosophical, a little more, fancy with it.
Mhm.
That part I understand, but still they would shy away from the topic because they're just like, no, I don't want to deal with that. I don't. I've sometimes asked like, why not? And
Mhm.
sometimes the response will be like, I just don't want to alienate somebody who might not feel that way, and I'm like, if your delivery is not trying to judge it, it's just opening a dialogue. It's just
Mhm.
asking, or even just like one of the songs, I say stuff that people might be like, "What the fuck?" But at the same time, I'm like, dude, open any newspaper, and that'll be the
Yeah.
first line that you're gonna read.
Mhm.
All I did was regurgitate that from the newspaper, like the song "Snap," where it's like the first line for that is like, another white cop kills a black man, and it's like, I played the song once live, and somebody asked me not to ever, like, why did you play that song? Like, and
Wow.
I'm just like, you didn't like it. I get it. Like,
Mhm.
it wasn't for you. I have
Mhm.
plenty of friends in the NYPD. I have
Mhm.
uh, plenty of friends who are black men also. Um, Open the newspaper, and those are things that you're going to read. Another white cop shot a black man. I'm not saying anything. I'm just repeating what's been happening.
Mhm.
And again, the point was that, like, the point was just, why can't you ask? Why can't you question? Like, why can't you think outside of like, how can we change this from happening? Why can't you think about it as, how can we find a solution? Why does it always have to assume that it's going to turn into this big fight? But again, I've never been one to shy away from saying what I got to say.
Mhm.
Because maybe I'm saying something wrong, and maybe you can clear me up. That can happen too. Like, it's
Mhm.
We're
not that I
all
think,
still
oh, I'm
learning.
right. Yeah, it's not because I'm saying because, oh, I think I'm right. That's not it. It's like, I'm really asking, like, is this genuinely like how people feel? Like, it's okay for this to happen? Is this
Mhm.
normal? Is this supposed to be normal? I'm just asking for a friend. Tell me, like,
Mhm. Mhm.
but like, again, you mix those really hard topics and those real social issues, like imprisonment and people going to jail for things
Mhm.
that, like, weed, just so that later you could say, oh, it's not a big deal, go ahead.
Right.
you know um you put all that together, and with a punk rocker, I'm gonna say whatever the fuck I want,
Mhm.
whenever the fuck I want. Like,
Mhm.
so I never shy away from that, and I never will, and I hope to never.
Mhm. Well, we hope you never do because it's so important to have that. And it is like, it's good to see there's still people out there and that, I feel the same way with that punk energy. I'm like, no matter what, I will say, it'll ruffle feathers, maybe not musically, but I'm like, I don't care if there's something bothering me or something I know that's not right. I'm going to
Yeah,
speak up.
yeah, no, like, you gotta always, like, people sometimes, you have to question those, sometimes when people are just like, oh, this is legally wrong, but is it morally wrong?
Mhm.
If slavery was once legal, you knew it was
Right.
fucking wrong.
Mhm.
It's possible that we're still doing these things now. Like, maybe those things will change later. You don't know. Don't even get me started on that shit.
Well, I mean, Jess, I think you have our last question for Omar, if you want to go ahead.
Oh, I thought that was all you.
No, I'll do. I'll take it. I didn't want to take too much time. Um, but how do you, other than playing your music or finding something relaxing, what is your go-to in coping with your own mental health, whether it was during the pandemic, but just right now, any day, whether as a musician or just even just as a person?
Breaks. I give myself breaks all the
Mhm.
time. I am
Yeah.
one of those people. And within those breaks, anything goes. It could, it's always going to be writing. I'm always going to be writing something.
Mhm.
Um, whether, whatever the stress or the problem is, whatever the
My
stress or the
dogs are
problem is.
passionate.
Yeah, I hear him. He's like, I know what I do. But I like to write down whatever the problem is, and then I take a break from that, and the break from that will take me to doing other things like watching movies, listening to music,
Mhm.
just relaxing. Go for a walk, go for a stroll. A little walk will do you like a big change. Call
Mhm.
some friends, catch up. I draw too.
Mhm.
Coloring, oh my God, like
Mhm.
that's super peaceful.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
But eventually what'll happen is whatever the stressor or the thing that forced me to take the break gets over it, you overcome it, you know. And it gets to the point where you get like that aha moment, right? Like, oh, well, that was an easy fix. Why didn't I think about that before? Like, you know,
Mhm.
and then I'll go back and rewrite, but like, oh my God, like, you know, duh. Like,
Mhm.
why was I making such a big deal out of it, you know, or whatever the case. But I think it's important, at least for me, like to take breaks. Give
Mhm.
yourself the break. Put
Mhm.
it down, whatever the fuck it is. Step
Mhm.
away from it. Give yourself a break. Go do something else, man. Go paint your nails. Go get a
Mhm. Yep.
haircut. Go get a
Yep.
massage. Those are great.
A little
Yeah.
self-love, a little
Yeah, self-love.
self-care.
Oh my God, it's so important. And so you know, I- some people feel guilty about that. Like, don't.
Mhm.
Yeah, put it
That's
down.
me.
Give yourself. Yeah, no, you
Mhm.
have to give yourself that time, that space, that love.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know, and it's only going to help you with everybody else and everything else.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I have to
No, I'm gonna have to take this advice because that's my number. I don't take a break. I'm like, oh, but I will have those aha moments too, where I'm like, oh, why did I even worry about that? Like, well, what was going on? Why did I have this going on? Um, so yeah, I need to take breaks. So maybe everybody else listening is going to be like, you know what? Maybe I need to take a break too, because
Yeah,
that's such good
breaks.
advice.
Distancing
Okay.
yourself from that stressor, you know, just give yourself that break. It'll come
Mhm.
too.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. We truly, Omar, this has been awesome. And we truly appreciate you coming
Thank you
on
so much.
and your insight. Like, I can't wait to have this out there for everybody because I'm hoping they click you and they click on the links and they get to know you because this has truly been awesome. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank thank you for giving me a chance. Thanks for giving the music a listen. Honestly, thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, and where can people find you if they want to look for you?
Oh, they can find me anywhere on the internet or anywhere on the streets of Queens, New York. But
There. There.
Hanging out.
so you can Google. Actually, I have a release that I'm doing with a band based out of New Jersey. The
Ooh,
artist's name is Rich Fuchs. The group is
oh,
called Three, like
okay.
a combination of three
Cool.
and five. uh,
Oh,
so Three, I'm releasing a song with them. It comes out Friday. I'll send you the link and maybe you guys can share that for me.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, he's a great guy, great songwriter. I've worked with him before in the past. I used to rock out with him many a time. And so the Phoenix Within stuff you guys can find anywhere online. We use the same handle for everything. If you don't have any digital plans to stream music, you can just type in here now, the Phoenix Within, and you guys can stream all our music for free via that. If, you know, you don't have Spotify or iTunes or any of that good stuff, but just Google the Phoenix Within. We got tons of music videos online. Almost have a video for every song we've released. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank
And
you.
hopefully we'll
Thank you.
have to invite you back for season 2 of this. We'll have to.
Oh, happily, happily.
Awesome.
It would be nice to
Awesome.
reconnect and see how far we've gone.
Absolutely, right? It'll be awesome.
Maybe the
Oh,
next one we do in season 2, we're all together. We'll meet somewhere like between Jersey and Daytona. We're all like
Maybe
in a diner and just
so.
put a 365 webcam. We're like, yeah, so what's going on?
that we'll take it. We'll take it. I'm so bummed because the show you're playing tomorrow, um, it's like I looked it up and I'm like, oh, it's a little far for what I've got going on. Or on Saturday, you're playing. I'm like, oh, it's like about an hour-ish away. I'm like, but if it can get me a little closer, I'll definitely come out to a
Yeah,
show.
no, definitely.
Mhm.
We'll just our town. We'll make our ways through all these towns. Don't worry,
There we
Daytona. We're
go.
coming for you.
There we go. There we go. Well, thanks so much, again. We don't want to keep you too long, but thank you so much.
No worries. Thanks again for
Thank
the
you.
opportunity.
Right.
Have a great night, ladies.
Absolutely. You too. Bye.
Ciao.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode, guys. Again, it was such a treat to have Omar on this episode and get this episode out here. It was supposed to go on the 14th of March. As you know, we took a break, some things changed. So I'm really excited. And thank you so much for listening to this episode and taking it all in. As always, I'll have all the links in the episode details and on the website, if you want to check out the blog, you can check out Omar's band, The Phoenix Within, and get to love them as much as I have. So thank you so much for listening again, and I will see you next time. Bye.